Next is Grifter #1, written by Nathan Edmondson and art by Cafu. This is the first failure for me for the of the new DCU that I've read. I just didn't. It didn't hook me. Nowhere in it is it really that interesting to me. I don't know. It just left me going, yeah. It just didn't. It didn't hold, which kind of surprises me. I mean, I thought, okay, I can't fail with the art. The art was okay, but it didn't. It wasn't enough to hold me, and yeah, I don't have a lot to say about it. It just nothing about it grabbed me, and I thought maybe it kind of might, but I'm not even going to give it an issue 2. It's just had nothing for me. I mean, the cover is exciting. I mean, the cover's dynamic, but yeah. I can't really point at anything to say this is why this stinks, or this was awful, or this was delivered wrong. It just, there was no spark, nothing for me. There's got to be something, or I'm not even gonna look at an issue 2. So, sorry. Next up, we have Mr. Terrific, written by Eric Wallace and yet another person that I'm not going to attempt their full name because I'm, once again, not good with names. Last name I'm going to take a poke at as Gugliotta. Great if somebody corrects me once again on that too. I like to get people's names right, and if I hear it enough times, I'll get it straight. And this comic, I'll be hanging around for at least another issue on, so I'd like to get it straight. Mr. Terrific is a character that I've always found interesting and whatnot. My exposure to him is strictly with the JSA. I've not read anything with him in it that's basically outside of that, except for brief appearances here and there, but nothing that really has to talk about him. I was really interested in, when he was in the JSA right before it ended, Mark Guggenheim was writing an interesting arc with him where he was slowly losing his intelligence. I thought that was kind of interesting. Unfortunately, they couldn't finish that up before the whole New 52 started. I like the way this comic opens up. It's interesting. It has some action shots right at the beginning. It's cool watching him use his T-spheres to fly around on. I like his new costume. The only part of his new costume I really don't care for is his mask. I can't tell, is it supposed to all be red like it is on the cover? It shows it all as red, so it's a red T. But in the actual comic itself, it shows it as being kind of more of a dark blue, and it kind of goes to a red shine down towards his chin. And I'll talk about here in a second, well, no, I'll talk about right now why that red chin kind of bothers me. The artist is somewhat inconsistent for me. Some places he looks really good and everything seems to work just fine. And other places the faces look just a little messed up. He looks mashed. His face looks mashed. And with that shine of red down his chin, really makes it look like he was mashed. It makes it look like somebody clobbered the person while they were off panel, and then suddenly they come on panel, and his face looks crushed. So I don't like that. Another thing I don't like about the comic is I don't like having to be told, what, I don't know, 3 or 4 times in here that he's the 3rd smartest man. Once was enough, I mean, unless he's actually talking to somebody and go, well, I'm the 3rd largest man. I don't know. Even then, it seemed like it was too much. I like some of the ideas that are introduced into it. I like the fact that they kind of deliver him as being, sorry, enough bad stuff's happened to me. I'm not really accepting of God in the process of, trying to hunt down some stuff. He's opened up this other dimension that he uses as his hideout. That's kind of cool. I'm somewhat interested in the potential plot that's going on as far as the evil thing that's happening. I'm interested in some of the secondary characters. I noticed that in this they introduced Karen Starr, who those of you who are long-term comic book fans know was Power Girl's secret identity. whether or not she is Power Girl or will be Power Girl at some point, you know, that I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure if this is implied that she's in some sort of a romantic relationship with Mr. Terrific, or if you know, she was just sleeping over. Because I mean, it looks like the couch is made up, so I'm not 100% sure where that relationship is. Because later on at a party, you know, she is telling Lily that they're just friends. So I don't know if that means they're friends with benefits, or really are just friends, or, you know, there's potentially some potential here. There's some potential in this comic. There's enough little interesting things about this that I'll pick it up, as opposed to the Grifter, where I couldn't find anything in there that really caught my interest for a second issue. This one does. I hope some of the inconsistencies in it get tied up, and I hope they start fleshing out some of the people they've kind of rushed to introduce here. There's a lot of information in this issue, I thought, and I'm hoping they'll start picking up on some of that in the next couple issues and really fine-tuning it and detailing it down, as opposed to it being as busy as what this seems to be. There are some lines in here that bug me. The Lefty Pinko, I'm a Republican lines I didn't really care for. There's some other comments on race in here that felt really uncomfortably delivered. Not that they were racist per se, but it just felt uncomfortably delivered. I can't imagine being in a conversation and dialogue being delivered in that way. But I'm going to give it at least another issue, just to see where things are going with it, to see if it continues to work on some of the stuff that I do think is interesting. Okay, now we have Resurrection Man by Danny Abnett and Andy Lanning. Now this comic surprised me. This is a comic, when it was introduced, I'm like, I'm not getting that. I mean, it wasn't even a debate that it was going to be on my thing. Just didn't. I mean, old guy that, you know, dies and comes back and has a different power. Okay, that's possibly a cool idea, but I thought, well, this is going to get old really quick, and maybe it still will. But I was really surprised with this comic. I decided, I'll give it a shot. Picked up the first issue. I really, really liked it. I liked the art. I love the whole opening part where everything is about metal. You know, that he can taste the metal of this. You can taste the metal of that. All the different descriptions of the stuff. The fact that his power is, is magnetic oriented around the metal. That's just cool. There's this whole segment in the middle where obviously somebody's out to collect him or something like that. We're not 100% sure. He's on a plane, which of course I didn't mention in the Grifter comic, is kind of interesting because it's the same as the Grifter, but this one's far more interesting. The way he dies in this first issue is entertaining, I think. The next power that he picks up is cool. I love all that description as he comes to senses with what he's able to do next, and the irony that he's on the plane because he thinks he needs to be on this plane, because one of the things about him, my understanding is, because this is my first exposure to the character, is that he basically comes back to life and is kind of compelled and drawn towards where the next thing is that he's supposed to be helping with. So he's trying to help these people on this plane as the plane is being wrecked by one of these people that's kind of out to collect him, it sounds like, in some sense. Whether that's his soul or we're not 100% sure yet, or I'm not clear, but interested. And in the process of trying to save this people on this plane, his body goes through one of the turbines and ends up crashing the plane. So ultimately, he ends up being the death of all the people he's trying to save. But yeah, I'm really liking this. Maybe that him dying all the time is going to get old. After a while. First issue, it was entertaining. I can't imagine he's going to die every issue, because you'd think he'd run out of some sort of powers after a while, or some level of uniqueness. But if the writer can maintain that, awesome. I'm definitely picking up number 2. I thought it was a lot of fun. This was a great read. It was interesting. It was it kept you busy. There were no dry points, and introduced a few people who are looking for him that are make me want to know what's going on next, okay? So definitely picking up the next issue of Resurrection Man.